Alright, so the last thing we're going to do today is convert between the forms. So the starting point would be from polar to rectangular. And to get to your rectangular coordinates, remember it's going to be an x, y from an r theta. So we're going to convert from polar to rectangular. We need to turn it into an x and a y. It's coming from your Pythagorean theorem, from your SOHCAHTOA, from the triangle that you saw on the last slide. But basically the x coordinate is just r times cosine of theta. And it's easy to remember, x and cosine always go together. Now we just got to put the r in front of it. And then similarly, y is r sine of theta. So these two little formulas, very helpful. You've got to have them in order to go from polar to rectangular. So to put that into practice, all we're going to do is say x equals 6 cosine of pi over 6, and y equals 6 sine of pi over 6. And then we just simplify. So cosine of pi over 6, that's going to be 6 times radical 3 over 2. And then that's going to be 6 times 1/2. That's going to simplify even more. 6 over 2 becomes 3 radical 3, and then 3. And that would be my rectangular coordinate. If I were to plot that, I'm going to go over, let's see, 3 radical 3 ends up being about 5.2. So I'm going to go over 5.2, up 3. And if you think about it, does that point fall in relatively the same spot that 6 pi over 6 fell? Well, it should be the exact same spot. So pi over 6, out 6 spokes. Yeah, I mean, it's in the same location. So then, if you want to get a good idea, we could plot my point. Negative pi over 4 is going to fall here, and then negative 4 is going to flip it. So my rectangular, when I convert this, should be a negative x, positive y. That's always a good reminder. So then we'll just do our little x equals r cosine of theta, and then y equals r sine of theta. And then we're just going to go through and simplify. So we've got negative 4 times, what would that be, radical 2 over 2. Oops, that should be a comma. And then sine would just be negative 4 times negative radical 2 over 2. And then if we simplify, that becomes negative 2 radical 2. Negative times a negative makes it positive. And then if we think about it, that's like, what is that, 2 radical 2, 2.8. So that point would fall at negative 2.8, positive 2.8. And yeah, they're in the same location. So to convert, just remember your r cosine theta and r sine of theta.